Good morning. Good morning. August 16th, Sunday. This is our second show today. Show 2. Congress has just given itself a 1-month vacation. It is off until mid-September without another agreement, economic agreement to manage the economy and the survival of our economy and the families of this country for the next year or for the next many months. Congress itself a vacation. The Democrats and the Republicans, Pelosi and McConnell, they're on vacation. Meanwhile, millions of people are about to get evicted. Millions of people are about to run out of food. Millions of people are about to lose their job, their house, their apartment, everything. They will have no health care. You can go to other sites. Some sites are saying 20, 30, or more million people are going to lose their health care because they'll lose their jobs. And because the idiotic healthcare system in this country is based on having a job instead of simply being a citizen, instead of having single payer health care, it is tied to a industry driven fascist insanity where people pay huge fees and co-pays and they can't afford the health care they have. Millions of people will suffer because Congress has decided to go on vacation while millions of people and our economy are in the middle of tanking. We're in a situation that's actually worse than the Great Depression in every way, whether you count it by the numbers or percent. It is irrelevant. It is worse now than it was during the Great Depression. There are millions of people who live under interstate bridges. There are millions of people who are going hungry. There are millions of people without. The only thing that's different between now and the early 1930s is that everything is in color instead of black and white. So it looks worse then, but it's actually worse now. If things continue to go as they do, I may lose my job. Things are bad. What is incredible is that the Republican Party, this is an expectation. But here we are in an election cycle. And during most election cycles, even the most extreme right wingers come back a little bit to humanity and sanity and at least play to the public a little bit so that they try to get reelected, save their backsides to be put in power for another 2 years or 6 years, depending on whether they're a House of Representative or a senator. Or in the case of a president, another 4 years of stealing from the American people. But in this cycle, the Democrats, as I predicted, are so weak in negotiating because I'm not sure that's their real interest. My brother says they have no interest in negotiation. And myself, as I've pointed out in the past, I've negotiated commercial loans for the last 40 years. And this is the worst negotiating I've ever seen, because they really are negotiating. The Democrats gave up trillions of dollars to the richest people in this country and the richest corporations during the very first and second agreements, economic agreements on this COVAX thing back in March and April and May. And what did the regular citizens of this country get? They got nothing. They got $1,200 check, while the corporations have gotten trillions. $3 trillion they've gotten already. Actually, 5 trillion. And people of this country and the small businesses of this country have gotten nothing. And what's even worse is that this president is such a lunatic, and is following the lunatic right-wing binge of fascist capitalism, whatever you want to call it, and not provide money to the states and the cities and the towns, so that millions of police and firemen and emergency workers are now also going to be put at risk, and teachers will now also be put at risk. All of those structures are going to now be at risk because states cannot borrow. Towns and cities cannot borrow. They're not allowed to borrow. They would have to change. The only way they would be able to borrow is if borrow from outside of capital projects. Would be to change either their constitutions or their bylaws. And to go through that process usually takes months and years. So any locality, any state, the state would have to amend their constitution. The state of New York, the state of New Jersey, Massachusetts, Florida, Texas, Iowa would have to change their constitution. So probably 66% or 75% of their legislatures would have to agree to that. And how long would that take? By that time, people would, there's going to be unbelievable levels of chaos in this country. While at the same time, the education system is about to rev back up to certain degrees all over this country, whether they're inside or outside of the classroom, putting an even bigger tax on whatever money is left on the local and state levels. The federal government, the Federal Reserve, and the U.S. Treasury must become involved for this country to function. And the U.S. Congress decides that it's time to take a 1-month vacation. I don't know why. Why are they representatives? Why are they senators? To sit back, be given the envelopes of money from their donors, and watch this country crumble. That is what is happening. That is what is actually happening. They're getting money from their big donors, and they're going on vacation. They could be going to the Cayman Islands, or they could stay home. I'm not quite sure how many of them are going to be meeting with their constituents, because they don't want to hear it. Whether in a real meeting with people in front of you, which probably only Republicans would do, or meet with people online in Zoom or something. They don't want to hear people's reaction. The Republicans heard it during 2018. They don't want to go through that again. And Democrats, the Democratic rank and file is slowly but surely, people my age are slowly getting it, that the Democratic Party doesn't give a rat's ass about them. They're slowly getting it, little by little. It's seeping in. It's seeping in that these bastards get $150,000 plus. They give themselves a month vacation while the rest of America is begging for 10 cents, begging to get money so they can survive and live in their apartment and have food on the table, so that their food stamps or SNAP program is not devastated. They're able to eat more than Kraft macaroni and cheese, and also be able to take their medicine and not make a choice between Kraft macaroni and cheese and their medicine, whatever medicine it is, or to go to a doctor. It is just the most pathetic thing in my 60, one of the many pathetic things that I've seen in my 60 years, and this is one of the worst. It's right at the top. This is just about the most criminal thing I've seen, short of war, that I've seen the United States Congress do. Connolly and Pelosi, the leadership should be just automatically thrown in jail and imprisoned because they are in contempt of the American people and the American people's needs. It is their responsibility to govern. And if the Republican House doesn't want to stay there, the Democratic House members should not be doing anything but staying right where they are and voting on what they need to vote on. And because they are a majority and they don't need one Republican to be there to have the House of Representatives function. Now it's up to the Republican Senate whether they want to continue. And obviously they don't continue because they know the Democrats are going to walk away, which they've done. And they have the presidency. So they're allowing the executive plan, which is illegal to begin with, and is it's not able to do anything on a constitutional level, spend any money whatsoever, because it's up to the Congress, per our Constitution, to vote on every tax bill and to vote on every expenditure and how that money is to be spent. It is not up to the president to spend money the way he just tried to lay out. But the Republican Senate is walking away from its responsibility. And so we're watching something I think is brand new on a level that is, I don't think has ever been reached before, which is complete and utter unconstitutional actions by the executive branch. And which are simply not going to satisfy the people of this country, cutting their weekly unemployment from 600 to 300 and making them go through a whole new process and begging for it. So half of them aren't going to get that anyway. And now there's not going to be a second check for $1,200. As little as that is, and insufficient as that is, it's a help, but the individual families are not even getting that. So it's up to the Democratic rank and file, even though we're this close to the election, a certain group of the rank and file Democratic voters We're all excited about the ticket. Biden and Kamala Harris. I am not. Hadn't have. I've thought Biden was going to drop out last October. I thought he was going to be dropping out because of health reasons. It's incredible he's still around. It's incredible that Kamala Harris, who was wiped out during the debates and disappeared under the weight of Tulsi Gabbard, who should be the vice presidential candidate, is beyond reason. It's beyond reason. So here we are. So this is the situation that the American public is in. We are sinking. The American public is sinking in an economic sense. Another million people unemployed this past week, even though it's below a million. How great. Do you know that during the 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 recession that we went through, and Obama had received the worst economy from Bush Jr. At the very worst, they were losing 800,000 jobs a week. And now it's been over a million for 21 or 22 weeks. And all of a sudden it's below a million, and they're saying how great it is. That's because they're running out of people. So many people have lost their jobs. There aren't that many people with jobs anymore for it to be sustained that high. It's not going down because of job stability. It's going down because there are fewer people working. So that's the insanity we're in. So if you're a Republican or if you're a Democrat, that's what you're supporting. By being quiet, by not calling, by not writing, by not protesting, that's the system you're supporting. A system of there is no system of a month of the legislators of this country, the Senate and the House, taking a vacation of a month. When does a worker for McDonald's or in a bank where I am or in any other industry able to take a month off? I've worked for over 40 years. I've been lucky to get 2 weeks off at one time. Since when did congressmen get a month off or should be allowed to take a month off? They should never be allowed to take more than 2 weeks off. Actually, the legislature should be continual in this country. And if they want to take 2 weeks off, that should be an individual decision. The House and the Senate should be continual. And as I know in the Constitution, it is not written that way. It should be amended so that it is written that way, that it is continual. It's one of the many things that should be changed in our Constitution or amended. Anyway, that's it for now. It's a matter of having a government that is completely failing the American people. The House, the Senate, the Democrats, and the Republicans all failing the American people. While, by the way, they are still fully funding a military that is so bloated, so wasteful, so abusive, killing people all over the world without our knowledge, that continues to be fully funded. Nearly $1 trillion a year. That's what's fully funded. Not education, not healthcare, not jobs, not green energy, killing people. That's the industry that the American government, Pelosi and McConnell, have decided to support. as a Republican, a Democrat, or as an independent, that's what you support if you're silent. Thank you.